Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Success Academy. I'm Sheshan Dias, and in this video, we are doing another podcast episode. So, up till now, we have done 2 episodes with Hasib, but today I have someone not necessarily new, but someone who has been with the company for a really long time. I think since a couple of months after its inception.
2021 October.
And so it's not necessarily new, but definitely this is his first appearance on the podcast. So I'll let him introduce himself.
Hi everyone, my name is Kavinka and I am the head of marketing at the Success Academy.
Do you want to say anything other than that?
I'm the one who posts these videos. I'm the one who responds to all your messages, all your comments, and also sees. Response is a very small thing to say. I feel like respond with wit, respond with the amount of details.
I remember when we first blew up on TikTok, the amount of messages we were getting.
And the quality of messages we were getting, man.
Yeah, Kavinka gave out some really funny comments during that time.
Yeah, because Sri Lankans are funny people, you need to respond with humor as well.
Don't insult the Sri Lanka people, man. They're the ones who are watching this.
We love you though. Like, y'all make us exercise our brain. That's all we should say. But anyway, this is again, I'm Kavinka. This is definitely not my first podcast experience. I'm just gonna go ahead and plug in.
We have done a podcast together before. Didn't end that well.
Yeah, we should not talk about it too much. And actually, even today's topic is borderline on a subject matter that involves the reason, or rather one of the reasons why we kind of discontinued it as well, because we didn't want to put up with people like that.
We got too controversial on that podcast.
No offense to anyone really, but after that we released another episode and then we just lost time. That was not the reason actually why. We just lost time.
Yeah.
This was plan A, so it was TSA. TSA.
That one was called TSB.
So plan B.
Yeah. But anyway, so we are here to discuss an IELTS essay topic, right? That is the purpose of this podcast series. And today's topic is something that really requires you to think. So if you get this topic during an IELTS exam, and if you are stuck with points, if you are stuck with no ideas, right? I believe this podcast will help you out, because we will be speaking both to and against, or for and against this topic, just to help you get an idea of what you can write if you get a similar theme. The chances of you getting the same topic is going to be very less, but definitely the same theme might recur. So then you will have some ideas to speak about in this case. So Kavinka, what is our topic today?
So this is Academic IELTS Task 2. Write about the following topic. The question is, most high-level positions in companies are filled by men, even though the workforce in many developed countries is more than 50% female. Companies should be required to allocate a certain percentage of these positions to women. To what extent do you agree? Okay.
So when you take this kind of question, this is an extent type question, right? It falls under the category of agree or disagree type questions, right? When you are writing this answer, there are 2 ways that you can really go about it. One way is you can say, I agree with this topic. That's the extent to which I think about this topic. I agree with it. But you can also write a point as to why you disagree, just to give a balanced perspective. So you can write 1 point to disagree and 1 point to agree, and therefore you have a balanced perspective. The second way of going about this would be both the points you write, both the paragraphs you write, you can agree, right? Or you can disagree. So both paragraphs can be written this way. So in today's podcast, we hope to talk about 2 points for each. 2 points as to why someone might agree with this, and 2 points as to why someone might disagree with this. So that way, even if you want to pick and choose, you can still go ahead and do that, right? Do you want to put that mic a little bit lower? With your face might be getting covered. That should be fine. That should be fine.
Super.
Yeah.
Sorry for the technical.
Yeah.
I'm not used to having a mic in front of my face because, like I said, like I didn't say it. I also have another podcast. It's called Grandstand Podcast. If you want to subscribe to
Don't
that
do your
on YouTube.
marketing here, man.
Head of marketing, you know.
You're head of marketing for us.
I'm also the co-host of another podcast, which is Grandstand Podcast, one of the only sports podcasts in Sri Lanka. So I'm not used to this because we do everything online.
All right. So we'll get back to the topic at hand, right? The question or the point that we are trying to bring across is, should a certain percentage of top level positions be allocated for women, right? And in this context, we are also talking about developed countries. And in this question, it says that more than 50% of the workforce are women. And although 50% of the workforce are women, only a certain percentage of people or certain percentage of women are in top positions, whereas the majority of top position people or top position executives are men, right? Let's talk about why we should allocate certain positions for women, or why we should allocate a certain percentage of these positions for women, right? So if someone is agreeing with this topic and saying, yes, we have to allocate a certain percentage, why would someone say that?
So, just to ask a question before that part where we say yes, that is in the introduction of the essay answer, is it?
Yeah. So we have to make our stance clear right in the introduction, correct?
Okay, super. So say you agree with this question of saying that, we're just pulling up the question, companies should be required to allocate certain percentage of these high level positions, these executive positions, to women. So if you are agreeing to that, I think it's a no-brainer to say that there's equality and fairness, and also diversity, and also a supplementary point would be role models. Because
so let's talk about each of these separately.
Sure.
Right. Equality and fairness. Can we elaborate on that?
So equality and fairness is basically to say that there are men and women, right? So if you see a majority of men in a certain company, if someone was to say, hey, that's kind of unfair to the women over there, because even though there are women in the workforce, sometimes even 50% more in the workforce, then can't those people be represented in higher positions? And then you go and introduce a woman into those high level positions, and then you can say, great, there is equality and fairness in terms of the sex. Yeah. So the sex here is
Are there
male and female.
companies currently that are allocating positions in this way simply to create a sense of equality, to create a sense of fairness? Do you know of any companies like that?
Yeah. So this also ties up to the role model point, which is Hema's.
Okay.
Hema's appointed Kasturi, I forgot her surname honestly.
Sellaraja, I think.
Sellaraja. Appointed her a few years ago, and that was all they were talking about. That was all I think our parents' generation was talking about as well. And they got their publicity, they got some sort of role model for women to look at. So Kasturi, Ms. Kasturi, spoken to, had the privilege of speaking to as well. Great role model. And you can say, yeah.
She became the CEO of Hemas, is it?
CEO of Hemas, yeah.
Nice.
Not sure right now who's the CEO of Hemas. I think it's her. But
I think now she retired.
Okay.
Or she got a better position, I think.
what's a better position than CEO?
Not in Hemas. She switched to a different company, or I think so. Anyway, I saw something on the news speaking about her retirement.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
So there's nothing much to talk about in terms of equality and fairness, just that.
But then again,
Mhm.
when you take Hemas as a company, yes, the fact that they appointed her as CEO was a great thing. But what is there equal representation in their top level though?
That is something that was not spoken about, and because it was not spoken about, that means that there was not.
Probably not.
Probably
right?
not.
If you look at a lot of companies, I think this is not the case. You know, even they talk about equality, fairness, giving opportunities to women. I have been a part of certain marketing campaigns for top-level companies in Sri Lanka where they push this narrative that we are creating equal opportunities for women, we're creating fairness for women. But in most of those situations, they're talking about the lower level positions. You know, if you go to more rural areas, women would love, not just women, like even men would love the opportunity to work in any company for a decent amount of money. Right, and so they're pushing this narrative that, hey, we are giving opportunities to both men and women, we're creating equality for women, giving them better working opportunities, but all they're talking about are these low-level roles. So there is actually a disparity, even in third world countries. Now, in this question, we are looking at first world or developed countries, but even in third world countries, still there is a disparity between the opportunities that are being awarded to women. So we are looking at an ideal scenario. So if you agree with this, it's not an existing scenario, it is an ideal scenario.
Yeah.
You agree with that?
Yeah.
So Kasturi's example is a good example to show how a woman broke through the barriers and went to that top level and got her seat there.
Yeah, because she didn't get it just based off just because she's a woman, which
definitely.
We'll get on
and
to
she would have
point,
faced so many challenges to get there.
Yeah. No, she's very smart as well. She's a really smart woman as far as I know and I've heard. Yeah. Lots of articles talking about her, lots of articles talking about different women in the industries as well. Look, you and I have been or are managed by women in top positions.
What?
Mystical Rose. I mean, the one that you're...
Bro, when you said we have been managed by... I was like, what?
In companies. Okay, for me,
what was it for you?
It was a law firm, actually. So, see, in Sri Lanka, and also you might have seen in Suits as well, the top person is a woman in law firms especially, and that issue is, or not issue, but
again, do you think there is equal representation, or is this an ideal scenario?
This is not an ideal scenario. This is actually the reverse. So like we are talking about women being represented, right?
Yeah.
There is a big case for law firms, especially in Sri Lanka, to say that women are the much more prominent sex. I'm not joking. My dad was in.
You're saying there are more female lawyers in top level positions in
law firms
in Sri Lanka? No way.
It's to do with the nature as well. I hope I don't get.
No way. So hold on. Let me get this straight. You're saying that there are more female top level lawyers in this country than men?
Yeah, top level in terms of the assigned position. Like
really? I did not know that.
So let me just delve into this topic. So my dad said that he was at a law firm when he was 25, 26. He just passed out of law college as well. He just became a lawyer, and he was at a law firm, a very prominent law firm even now, and they asked him to stay. One of the reasons why the law firm wanted him to stay was because there were so many females.
No way.
So many females. And he said, and the person who wanted him to stay was a man. And he was saying, Mr. Fernando, if you stay here in about 5 years or to 7 years, you will become a partner in the firm. So that's a pretty big thing. Because there's a tendency, or not rather tendency, it's just that there are more females inside a law firm rather than males. I've been inside one, and that's the case. It's just how it is. Because I don't know why, but men don't seem to, or rather male lawyers don't seem to go into that path of the law firm's law firm route. Rather they take up positions in courts. So that's also to do with the whole, because you don't have to go to courts per se when you're in a law firm. Only the litigation department does that. So, and also the litigation department has, I think, one more or two more males than females. So there also you see that observation. So you go to courts, you'll find way more male lawyers, but you go to a law firm, you find way more female lawyers. It's to do with the whole adversarial and non-adversarial thing as well. Because in courts, you need to bark it out, right? You need to...
Yeah, so you can use this as an example when you're writing to say that women in top level positions do well. So there is no reason not to allocate positions for them. Right? So the point you're making here in this first paragraph would be that you would allocate a certain percentage of positions to women to create equality and fairness in a company. And an example to show that women can perform well at top level positions would be this example of lawyers who are dominating the law firms in Sri Lanka.
Yeah, it ties up to the second point.
Is it only in Sri Lanka? Is it?
I would say it's abroad as well.
Really? Yeah?
It is abroad. You don't have to look too far. You watch Suits, right?
Suits is a...
It's a fiction, but it's based off real life things.
I think we are stretching it a bit there.
Yeah, Suits you don't need to look at the but you see the main character, one of the main characters, Jessica Pearson. Right? You see that type of woman representing women in that sphere. And one of the top legal firms in fictitious New York. Yeah,
correct. So I feel like overall the point we are trying to make is that by allocating a certain percentage of positions for women, it would create equality and fairness and would give a better image to the company by portraying this narrative.
Yeah.
So definitely that would be an advantage.
Yeah.
The second one you mentioned, before role models, you mentioned something else. Diversity. Don't you think that comes alongside this equality fairness thing?
Yeah, because see, everything you talk about in terms of the pros for this, the four arguments, falls under the umbrella
of equality,
fairness, diversity. Correct. You don't really have anything else. If there are...
But role model, maybe. Role model is a separate. So if you're going for a second paragraph, you can mention that women in top level positions would serve as role models for other aspiring young women.
Yeah.
Right? So at the moment, again, we are talking about an ideal scenario where a certain percentage of positions are allocated for women. This would give women the hope that they can work towards those positions. And when they see women who have got those positions, for example, like Kasturi, who we mentioned earlier, women will feel more motivated.
Yeah.
Right? Forget about developed countries, right? Sri Lanka is actually is the first country to appoint a female prime minister. That in and of itself gave other women an aspiration to move into politics and have... Now, see, politics is one area where there is very, very little female representation. Not just in Sri Lanka, but even in developed countries like the States.
But Sri Lanka, I think, is the only or one of the only countries in the world to say you have to have 25% representation of females in the parliament.
Do we have 25%?
Yes. I mean, that is a
requirement.
It is a requirement.
Okay. And we are also... Sri Lanka is also one of the only countries, not the only, but one of the only countries to have had a female executive president as well.
Yeah.
Ironically, that was the daughter of the first female prime minister.
Yeah.
But
the fact that people voted for her.
Which means other women can aspire to get to that level. So if you allocate certain top level positions in companies for women, they could act as role models for other women to work towards.
Exactly, and you don't need to go too far as well. Sri Lanka's women's cricket team is doing quite well these days. And you also need to talk about Chamari Atapattu, the captain of the Sri Lanka women's team. Now, she will inspire a whole generation of cricketers, females, to come up to that national side and empower side, right?
But we can't use that example per se, but especially in the essay.
Because we are talking about executive positions. But in terms of role models, like you don't have to think.
Correct.
If the thinking is what's prominent here.
Yeah.
You have to think in the way that, say, for example, a sportswoman, she gets to a top level position, then everybody will see her and be like, wow, I want to be that. So in low level positions, if you're just an intern and you see a woman just became a CEO, you have that aspiration to be the CEO one day.
Yeah. Now, if you're talking back in terms of companies, there have been a lot of women, and if I were to bring a personal example, one of my mom's friends
Mhm.
is one of the deputy general managers at Mars Holdings,
Okay.
right? So she was someone that started from the bottom,
Yeah.
right, and worked her way towards the top,
Mhm.
right? And so she in turn can inspire so many other girls, young girls, to come up to her position and say, hey, if you work hard, if you put in the effort, this is the place where you can get to,
Yeah.
right? So an example like that you can bring across in this essay.
Yeah.
So sometimes you might not have popular examples to bring across, right? But even a personal example like this, you can bring and write in your essay.
Yeah. Personal experiences do matter.
Yeah. Do you have any women that have... your mom doesn't work. Now your mom does work.
She's someone who has inspired me, definitely. But
In a corporate setting?
from a corporate point of view, not really.
Okay. No, but do you have any experiences of women working their way to top level positions in corporate?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, some of my friends, they have, like, just because they're smart, right? The whole narrative is that females are generally smarter than men. You know, that whole narrative is there. But then again, it does take a lot of hard work and perseverance to become anyone in the top level. And I feel that, you know, credit where it's due. A lot of female friends have worked their way from small beginnings to high level positions. So yeah.
That's true. All right, so those are the 2 points: equality and fairness, and then creating or becoming a role model, right? Or creating role models by allocating specific roles in companies for women, right? Now we talk about disagreeing with this topic.
Can I bring in one point? We spoke about this before.
Yeah.
So, say there are chaotic times in a company.
Oh no.
You know what
Don't say that.
But this is a point maybe you could consider. It depends on how you word it. So there are chaotic times in companies, right? There has to be a crisis manager. Now, females and males, you know, you get that you have a spectrum of male and female, and you say that males are much more aggressive, while females are much more regressive is the word. Agreeable.
Yeah.
Really? Okay. Agreeable. For lack of a better word, agreeable. But you see this with your parents as well.
This is what Jordan Peterson says.
This is what Jordan
He says men are more disagreeable, or rather masculine. The masculine trait.
Masculine and feminine, that's what I was saying.
The masculine trait is that men are more disagreeable, which is why they perform well in the workspace, whereas women are more agreeable, which is why they don't perform well in the workspace.
Yeah, so...
Not that they don't perform well, it's just that that's why they don't make it to top level positions, because they're naturally disposed to being more agreeable.
Yeah.
There's a funny interview, I was just telling you about it. So, you guys should go and watch this. So, Jordan
What's the name of
Peterson...
it?
I forget, but it's I think it's an interview that a BBC reporter has with Jordan Peterson. And so in that interview he says men are more agreeable. Masculine trait is that we are more disagreeable, whereas women are more agreeable.
I think you need to define the word agreeable, disagreeable to...
that means men are more likely to tell someone no. Men are more likely to tell someone, I don't like you, I don't like this idea, let's move forward with something else, right? They're not afraid to get into a fight, whether it's verbal or physical, and therefore they're able to exert more dominance faster and take quicker decisions, right? They're not afraid to make someone feel bad, they're not afraid to bully someone, they're not afraid to just do whatever it takes to move up the ladder. Whereas women might care more about people's feelings, they might be generally disposed to be more nice, caring, more maternal instincts, right? So he says that, right, to this woman. The woman says something back to him along the lines of, why do you think I made it to a top position in the BBC? Yeah. And then Jordan says, well, because you're a disagreeable woman. Says you have a lot of masculine traits, and even this interview, you're just disagreeing with everything I say. You're not afraid to hurt my feelings. You're not afraid to ask me tough questions, which is why you made it to a top level in this company. If you were someone that actually cared about how I felt, you would not be sitting in this chair interviewing me. So you need to have a lot of masculine traits to kind of move up the corporate ladder. We'll talk about this when we talk about the reasons as to why men are dominating the workspace. Yeah. So right now, let's just focus on if someone disagrees with why women should be allocated positions in companies or top level positions in companies. I think one of the biggest arguments for that is that top level positions in companies should not be allocated based on gender. They should be allocated based on performance. What do you think?
100%. I don't think anyone will disagree with that, because at the end of the day, a company, right? We are not talking about non-profits. Good point, by the way. Non-profits. I don't know about you, but most of these non-profits, man,
Headed by women.
Yeah. It's probably because of what you mentioned, the whole, feminine traits and this and that. You take a lot of these non-profits, women in need, maybe some sort of like cancer trust. Dude, women in need, I think that's definitely from a woman.
If you talk to a lot of girls, they're more disposed to go and work in a non-profit than men.
Right.
Men would not want to work in a non-profit unless they're getting paid a thumping amount to do it.
I have been asked. I have.
Yeah, Kavinka, you're not charitable at all.
I'm not charitable. I have been charitable to so many people in corporate. After I...
Okay, now we're just going off topic.
That's a rant for a different podcast on another day. But anyway, so what was the point we were making?
No, the point is that top level positions in companies should be allocated based on performance, not based on gender.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, companies, they want to profit, they want to see their company doing well. And you need the right people for the right job, for the right result. If you don't, you can see the downfall of a company just like right there. What if someone is involved in fraud? Company goes down. What if someone doesn't work hard to get their company to the top? Company goes down. So at the end of the day, say a CEO or a top level executive is being voted in by the board of directors, right? So the board of directors would appoint someone who is suitable for the job. I'm pretty sure that the last thing they would see is whether they are black, white, Martian, Earthling, right?
Yeah.
So that is a very important point that you should mention in the cons, like arguments against this topic. Appointing a woman who does the job brilliantly, I have no arguments against it. But appointing a woman just because she's a woman may not be the right decision. The same goes for the man as well, just because you're a man.
Exactly.
And the
positions should not be allocated on anything except performance.
Yeah.
If you're performing well, it doesn't matter if you're a woman, man, black, white, whatever, you deserve to get a top level position. So what this topic is saying basically is if you have 10 top level positions in a company, 4 of those positions or 5 of those positions should go to women, 5 of those positions should go to men, right? We completely disagree with that argument in this case, because what we are saying is all those 10 positions should go to the best performer.
Yeah.
If all 10 of those positions need to be filled by women, go ahead. If all those positions need to be filled by men, needs to go ahead. Doesn't matter about equality, doesn't matter about role models. Whoever is performing and doing the job well, they need to get it.
I mean, look at the current world we live in right now.
That's exactly how it
AI
works.
is coming, and people want AI to replace certain human positions. They are not going to look at AI representation or robots representation. They're just going to see who can get the job done better. And
if AI gets the job done
that
faster, just get rid of the people, put the AI in. That's what's happening, right? I mean, when Musk took over X, right? He basically downsized the company by about 50%. 30 something percent, right?
Yeah.
No, it was more than that, bro. It was about 50%.
Let's call it 40?
Let's call it 40.
Yeah.
So I remember when he was getting interviewed and the interviewer asked him, how can, let's say 60% of the people do the job that 100% of them were doing. And then he said, well, that's how much it took to run it, right? And so basically, so before Musk took over, Twitter was a company that portrayed equality and, you know, they were conforming to all these rights and all of these things. But at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure it's 50%.
Okay.
Or more, actually. That's all that they needed to run that company. A top billion-dollar company. Right?
It's interesting because this point which you mentioned about the whole downsizing and everything, that also brings in another point which you can mention, which is, are you going to give, or rather, are you going to make up positions and give them to women because you need to fill in that quota of having a woman? Like, for example, the whole 25% representation thing in the parliament. Are you going to make up small provinces or districts just because you want more women to represent in those districts? Absolutely not, right?
Yeah.
So, are you going to do it for the sake of it, or are you going to do it because you want to see the company succeed? Which is another great point which you can bring in.
Yeah. So the point we are saying, or the point you can write here, is that performance should triumph gender.
Yeah.
Right? If you are allocating positions in companies, it should not be because of gender, it should be because of performance. So your point also falls under that category, right?
Yeah.
Do we have a second point to bring into the table here?
We do. Actually made a whole list about this.
Oh. About why we disagree with this topic.
No. So, hold on, my phone got stuck also.
Yeah. Now, when we talk about this, I think that's the key point. More than even... Now, we brought out 2 points to agree with the topic. I think they were good enough if someone wanted to agree. Or I think there are more points to disagree with this topic. Because I don't think for any reason gender should triumph anything else. Make sense? It should always be based on performance.
Yeah. You know,
what's the other point?
Everything that I'm looking at right now, we've already discussed. You know, the whole meritocracy stuff, the quotas, which I mentioned. There's also this point, which is quite interesting. If you could word it very well, because this is an essay topic, would be great. Would be such a great point. So it's called cultural resistance, right? So what I noted. This is disagree.
Okay.
So cultural resistance. In certain cultural contexts, there may be strong resistance to mandated gender quotas. This resistance can manifest in various forms, from subtle non-compliance to outright opposition, leading to internal conflicts within the organization. Efforts to impose quotas in such environment may need to be gradual and carefully managed to ensure acceptance and sustainability. So, to translate that into much more layman terms, what they're trying to say is, if you try to push this narrative that women should have much more top-level positions, you might cause the system or the company to cave in, or rather self-destruct, because certain people might get annoyed.
Because you're pointing a lot of people that don't really deserve to be in those positions.
Yeah, which kind of encapsulates everything, the whole quotas, the meritocracy, equality and fairness, everything. Because again, it ties down to that point, are you going to make changes just because they are women or just because they are men?
Yeah, and it's going to anger a lot of people.
And then you see sides happening in companies which honestly you don't want. Like, for example, take a sports team. You do not want 2-3 different teams in one main team, right? You're going to have all, for example, cricket, which a lot of our viewers are watching. So 11 players. You don't want like 6 players siding for the coach and 5 players siding against the coach, right? You want all 11 siding for the coach or against the coach. That's also a good point.
When you think of it in a company perspective, if people are uncomfortable, let's say, working under someone incompetent, because if you're just like you said, if you're allocating a quota and we are appointing people just because they're women, and if they're not the most suitable, if they're not the most competent to handle that, then the more competent men or women under that person will have problems working for that person.
Yeah.
Which is going to cause a lot of problems, fights, internal conflicts within the company, and eventually, like you said, self-destruct. Definitely. So cultural resistance. Wow, that's a good point.
That's a very good point. So it mentioned Middle East as well, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Man, I've been having a lot of conversations about that with so I work for a cybersecurity company, right? And both my bosses, now they're from the Middle East, right? But they're of the Islamic faith.
Okay.
Right? And so he was telling me about how in the Middle East, they might not like to work under a woman because it's so patriarchal, right? Women have no chance of making it into the ruling class of the country. And even when it comes to companies, working for a woman might not be the most comfortable thing for them. It's not that they won't do it, but it's that they might not be too comfortable. Yeah. Yeah. We're planning to do a podcast on that with them. It's going to blow up.
I'm definitely not going to be part of that, but I wish you all the best and good luck for them. But no, it's because it's not because it's sexist or anything. It's just that they are not used to it.
They're not used to it.
For example, you have this company, right? TSA. And say someone who is foreign comes into this company and starts managing, who becomes a major shareholder of this company and starts doing things you don't want.
It's interesting, right? Now, in the industry that we are in, spoken English and IELTS, the top performers are men.
Okay.
But you remember we tried to go into elocution.
Yes.
All top performers are female.
Oh my gosh, yes.
The elocution market in Sri Lanka is dominated by women. Men have no chance.
I think not all the elocution, but
I would say 95%.
I went for 2 elocution classes. Both
All
by
of
female.
All of it's dominated by women. Elocution in Sri Lanka is dominated by women.
Teaching in Sri Lanka is dominated by women.
No. Yeah. Teachers. There are more teachers who are women, but top earners are men.
Top earners.
There's a difference. All the top earning teachers are men.
Yeah,
you go to all these places, bro. All the big boards and the billboards, it's all men. No, we see one or two offhand. You see a woman, a teacher, lady teacher, but everyone else is sirs. Even on YouTube, the guys that blow up are all men. All men. But okay, so now we have spoken 2 points for and 2 points against this topic. I think we have about 5 minutes.
3 points against the topics and.
What are 3 points?
3 points.
Performance.
The other one is cultural.
Okay, performance, cultural resistance,
and quota. So are you going to just fill them?
Okay.
Because for the sake of
correct.
That.
So that falls under performance, yeah. More or less.
Yeah.
More or less, yeah. So 2 points.
Yeah.
Performance and cultural resistance. Okay. All right. Now we have about 5 to 10 minutes more. We'll talk about why men are dominating these top level positions. Okay. What are some of the reasons? What are some of the barriers that women have even in developed countries? I would say it's more so in Asian countries, but it's still prevalent. It's changing, but it's prevalent in developed countries. Some of the barriers and reasons as to why women are not in top positions.
The masculine trait allows for adversarial actions, and you mentioned it, that in order to get to a top level, you can't be having the agreeable stance. You kind of have to be disagreeable. Of course, there are exemptions, but it's one of the reasons. Of course, I'm not saying that females can't be disagreeable.
Yeah, you're correct though. To make it to top level positions, you have to be relatively disagreeable. And what we mean by that is simply that you need to make hard decisions.
Yeah.
You need to hurt certain people's feelings. You need to be able to fire people. Bro, you watch Shark Tank, right? You know Barbara?
Yeah.
You know what she says? She says, I love firing people on a Friday. She just likes firing people in general. So she is very disagreeable. Right? And that's the reason she's so successful. So rich, so successful. She has her own business.
Yeah.
She, of course, has never succeeded in corporate. But her own business is one of the top earning businesses in the world.
Crazy.
Right? What the other lady, Laurie. She seems like she's more agreeable, but of course, in her business decisions, she's very shrewd.
Okay.
So again, I suppose to that effect, if you want to make it to a top level position, either as an entrepreneur, but we are specifically talking about companies. If you want to make your way up a company, you have to be willing to make some hard choices, piss some people off, and just make some tough decisions. So those are all masculine traits.
Yeah. The other point is just the life of a woman as well. My mom had to give up her high-paying job because she welcomed my brother and sister to the world. So she had to take it because they were born 2 years apart, right? So in 2004, my sister was born. And then so, of course, my mom had to take some kind of maternity leave. And then she came back into the job. Then 2 years later, my brother was born. And then she had to look after... So I was 5 and 6 years old myself. So she had to look after 3 kids. And that meant that she had to quit her job.
Yeah. So when you are focusing or when you're prioritizing your family, women have that problem. Yeah. They have to stay at home. They have to do the cooking, the cleaning, the taking care of children.
Women who want to start a family.
Women want to start a family. Yeah. There are exceptions to that as well. Yeah. There are a lot of women who are very successful in their corporate life, plus manage to have a great family life as well. Yeah. But if you take it as a general point, then it's tough to manage both a family properly with a job.
Family also, by family I mean not just one child, I mean 2, 3 children. Because I feel like
one child might be manageable.
You could manage with one child. Like, I have a family friend, actually my mom's best friend. She has one child and she, I think, heads some marketing division of some major company in Oman. So she's doing very well for herself. But maybe the fact that she has one child also allows her to focus on, and that now one child is at 20 this year. So she's gone past that stage of having to take care of every single thing that he does.
Yes, women basically have to take a break when they're pregnant, or just after pregnancy, they have to take their maternity leave.
Yeah.
And because of those gaps, for most women, coming back into the working environment and then having to work themselves up from there might be more difficult.
Yeah.
Which is why a lot of women don't make it into top positions in companies, because one thing is they end up taking that break and men surpass them during that time because they are constantly working.
Yeah.
But in Western countries, in top developed countries now, maybe that narrative is also changing. Men are now unfortunately staying at home.
Yeah.
And for us, this is such a foreign concept because we are so used to patriarchy.
Yeah.
We are so used to a father figure, male figure leading the house, But I was just watching, there was this documentary on Netflix called How Money Works or something like that. Okay. And one of the families that this guy was working with, the woman was the breadwinner. The man was staying at home to do the cooking, the cleaning and whatnot. I was thinking, what a terrible man to begin with.
Yeah, okay.
But, and the reason they were having arguments also is basically the same problems that women have when men go out to work. Okay. Which is, she doesn't give me enough money to do the spare. And I was like, oh man, you're a man and you're saying that? That's just disgusting.
Okay.
Right? And so he has to stay at home with the kids. So he's coming up with the argument like, I stay at home and I have to take care of the kids. That's so much work. I was thinking this is exactly what all women say.
That's what most women say, yeah?
Yeah. And so you have the problem either way.
Yeah.
Right? But the reason that a lot of women have not been able to go to top positions now is because they have to focus on their family. So whoever focuses on the family will have a difficult time progressing in their career. It's not that it's impossible, it's just that it's really, really hard. The reason why most marriages are successful and the reason why most partnerships are successful is because one person focuses on bringing in the money, the other person person focuses on taking care of the house. Now, if the woman does that role properly, she has no time to focus on a career. Yeah, she has to take care of the kids, she has to do the cooking, the cleaning, taking care of their old age parents, both of their own and their husbands. Right? It's interesting because I was just having this conversation. I had a class just before this, and I was having this same conversation with another lady.
Okay.
So she's a mother, she's a housewife, and she said, my husband is a top performer in corporate. What is the reason? He does not have a single thing to worry about at home. He doesn't do the cooking, the cleaning, nothing. He just comes, he eats, he sleeps, he talks to me, he treats me very well, and he focuses 100% on his job.
I don't know about you, brother, but that's the dream.
That's the dream, right?
Like for...
and it's a very successful family.
For ambitious men, I mean, that's the dream.
Yeah, and that's a very successful family. The kids are well-to-do. One of the kids in Australia. One of the other kids is still in school.
Okay.
And what she says, I'm very happy to do that because as a family, we have succeeded because of that. I mean, even if I take my own family, right? My mother was working throughout, right? My mom and dad met because of their workplace.
Okay.
Right?
Oh.
Yeah.
Where?
Air Force.
Your mom was in the Air Force?
Bro, you did not know that?
I did not know that.
You have known me for 12, 13 plus years.
Okay, we have not got to that point, so...
But we have not got to that point. She has come to school for parents' meetings in her uniform. No, actually, you and I weren't in the same class.
Yeah, exactly.
I was in single media.
Yeah, so always your dad would come in his uniform.
In his uniform.
Yeah.
That was scary.
Yeah. You had this guy, like the blue uniform, right?
Uniform,
Air Force.
No, so mom and dad were in the Air Force.
Yeah.
No, but my point is, my mother, she was an exception. She was able to balance both her home life and her office life.
Crazy.
So, she would come, so all 3 meals were prepared by her. Because during school, Machang, we didn't have enough money to eat from, out all the time. Now, it's a different story. Yeah. But when my family was starting out, when my parents were starting out, we couldn't eat from out. Like I used to get $50 or $100 for the whole week sometimes, So all 3 meals were prepared by my mother, right? How she had time to do that, only God knows.
What time did she wake up?
When I was going to school, man, she would be up at about 4:35, I guess. Every day, every single day. And she would do the cooking. Of course, my dad helped, right? It's not that dad just stayed, but dad would do the cooking, the cleaning, all of that he would contribute to. But mainly it was my mom, When my dad comes home from work, she would have dinner ready, tea ready, Even now, up to date, when my dad comes home, she's ready with the tea.
Yeah, she made us
like 26 years of marriage.
Man.
Right? That's crazy. So, there are women who can balance that, but most women struggle with it. Most people struggle with that balancing act. Right? And so, you either have to pick your career or you have to pick your family life.
Yeah.
And the reason that males have more representation in corporates is simply because they are willing to prioritize their work over their family. And that's true of most men who are successful on a corporate level.
Yeah.
And women tend to prioritize their family over their corporate life, which is why there's less female representation.
Yeah.
You see this when you're hiring, right? You ask a guy, can you work 16 hours a day? Most guys would say yes. The same would not be true of a woman. Because they have other commitments to keep. There's nothing wrong with it. But that's the reason that there's less representation.
Yeah.
Are there any other reasons for that? So obviously we spoke about the biological reasons. Then of course the commitment reasons.
So there's also the emotional reason as well, right? When you're in a top level position, you get wait, hold on. I see your face. But let me explain. When you're in a top level position, you get recognition, and a lot of people know you, and you are greeted with, oh wow, you're a CEO now, or you're a CFO at X company. That kind of feeds the ego of a man. Because...
But it also feeds the ego of a woman.
It's also a woman. But from my experience, I'm just saying, from my experience, it's... Men like to be fed.
What?
Their ego likes to be fed.
Men likes to be fed.
I mean,
all babies.
All men like to be fed. But no, what I'm saying is that men's ego.
Yeah, men prefer money, power, fame.
Whereas women are much more like, like I'll do my thing on the side, or like I'll do my own thing.
I think where you're trying to go with is correct, but I think the correct correct phrasing for that would be the ultimate happiness of a woman would come from her family. She has good kids, who have grown up to be great. At the end of the day, when she's a grandmother and she sees a whole family, happy, successful, doing well, that's her ultimate happiness.
Yeah.
For a man, that would be a big part of his happiness. But if he has not done anything worthwhile with his life in terms of earning money, in terms of having a good position, a good title, of being a respectable man in society, he would still feel like there's a void that needs to be filled. Whereas a woman might not feel that.
Like, did you fulfill your ultimate potential?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Yeah, I don't know whether I've told you this, but that's my biggest fear.
What?
To see myself not having fulfilled my biggest potential.
That's everybody's fear, man.
I don't think so. I definitely don't think it's like everybody's fear, but every ambitious person's... Because let's be honest, there are non-ambitious people over there. We've met non-ambitious people, and that's totally their thing. And I totally understand you would like to sit, on a rocking chair in a village or overlooking the sunset and just being that. But
hey, there's nothing wrong with that. I want to do that.
No, this is despite not having done anything like hard, rigorous.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, true. Yeah, so that's what I said. So, like I said, men want to have achieved something in their corporate life, their business life. And that would be their ultimate happiness. Whereas for women, it would be the family and, who they have created, more or less. Alright, so I think we discussed 2 points for this topic, 2 points against this topic, and we also spoke about the reasons that it is how it is now. The reason why men are more prevalent, or there's a higher percentage of men in the workforce now. What are those reasons? Right? Alright, so I think with that, this was a very long episode, but we are finally done. So guys, if you found the video helpful, if you thought that you could get some points out of this to write your essay, do subscribe to the channel, do share this with a friend, and comment down below. If you, there might be points that we may have missed out, there might be points that you disagree with, please feel free to let us know down in the comments below. Alright?
I'll be responding to them.
Kavinka will be looking at them and responding.
No, these tricky stuff, of course, I'll ask him to shoot in as well. Because honestly, I have also 24 hours.
I remember when the TikTok stuff came out, man. There were some funny comments. There were some really funny comments. And you replied so well to them also.
So we replied so well to that.
Oh, man.
Some of you all are jobless to argue back at us because we are clearly being sarcastic. And
you remember there was this one comment that went on for so we kept on commenting. We were having a good laugh about it. It was this, it was another English teacher. I think he tried to point out a grammatical error. Bro, and then Mike's girlfriend got involved there.
Oh my god.
Bro, that went on for about 35-40 comments. Yeah. And that guy realized he was losing. Yeah. Because...
And your ex-girlfriend is a
top-level journalist. No, and her English is impeccable.
Very good.
Right?
Yeah.
And this guy, unfortunately, although he was English teacher, his English wasn't that great. So he kept coming on and she kept attacking attacking and attacking and attacking.
On the bed, in the bed.
On the bed, in the bed, yeah. Oh,
Like, is the book in the bed or on the
yeah,
bed?
we said on the bed.
We say on the bed.
We said on the bed. He was saying in the bed.
In the bed.
I think in the bed might be correct in some contexts.
Yeah, like, but are you in bed? Meaning, are you in bed? Meaning, I'm going to sleep.
Yeah, so we had said on the bed, right?
We
The
had
cat
said
was on the bed.
Cat was on the bed.
Bro.
Cat is not going to sleep in the bed.
Yeah.
Unless you want to. Let the cat sleep in the bed.
Bro, there was like 40 back
Went
to
on for
back to
4
back.
days.
We were laughing about it though. We were properly laughing about it. That guy took it super seriously. He said, I'm one of the top teachers in the country. And you're like, whoa, calm down, bro.
Unreal. And from that I got to know, I'm not putting down Sri Lankan society, but
You have been doing nothing but putting down Sri Lankan society. I think you need to have a lot more respect just because you're going to the UK.
Hold
just
on.
because you are going to the colonizers.
You're going to get me cancelled.
You are going to get cancelled if you keep speaking like this.
But no. But I learned a lot about how people operate online, because that English teacher would not come to debate us if it was physical. A lot
he
of
wouldn't have
commenters
any chance,
on
bro.
TikTok would not come on and debate with us physically.
Yeah.
People do it only on... Anyway, that's for a different topic.
That's not just Sri Lanka much, and that is
like a
around the
human thing.
world.
Yeah.
It's a human thing.
You learn about netizens.
You learn about what?
Netizens. Internet
Oh.
citizens. It's called netizens.
Oh, I did not know that.
I also got to know it last year. And I've used it twice since then. This is the second time.
Damn.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, like a lot of people. It's not in Sri Lanka. It's all around the world. People who are insecure about their own thing would then come and try to bring you down.
Yeah.
That's
See,
what happens.
we can talk about this on a different topic.
Although I don't think that guy came on to us with that intention.
Yeah,
he actually thought we were wrong.
He really wanted to prove us wrong.
Oh man, that was a good time. That was a good.
And his name also had, I think it was Rashmin or something.
No, don't say the name, man.
No. It's definitely not Rashmin. But
Yeah.
I'm sorry if there's a Rashmin out there. But
We have a Rashwin.
So say it's Rashmin. Rashmin Madrang, this is out to you. But you have Rashmin and then it's slash, like vertical slash, English teacher.
Oh damn. Yeah,
Amazing.
that was funny. That was a
very funny.
that was a good experience for us to talk about later on.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right, guys. So we are done with the video today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And till our next video.
Keep practicing.